Caseus, Dawn of War. Chapter 9. Caseus waited with his master on the steps of the temple, waiting for the council to arrive. And arrive they did, in a ship Caseus had never seen before. As it opened, several soldiers in white armor and helmets exited the craft, followed by the remaining members of the Jedi Council. Caseus looked at the soldiers. These must be the clones they were told about. Caseus and his master bowed to the council members. Masters.
Kakuri, I'm glad to see you're alive. We lost so many Jedi today. But we must move forward. Accompany us to the council chamber. We have much to discuss. Caseus, you stay here. Help our wounded to the medical bay.
Yes, Master. Caseus walked over to the ship and began helping the wounded over to the medical bay. There weren't many. Ordinarily, Caseus thought that would be a good thing. In this case, however, it was more likely that the dead far outweighed the injured. Caseus returned to the ship and saw Master Kenobi looking exhausted as he was aided by a clone to the medical bay. Alongside him was Skywalker, not only looking beaten and bruised, but missing his right arm as well. Caseus wanted to ask questions, but figured it wasn't the appropriate time. Finally, all the injured were escorted to where the doctors could aid them. Caseus then took a closer look at the shuttle. It was definitely a far sight from the Jedi shuttles they would take on diplomatic missions. This was a ship built for battle.
Like what you see?
Caseus turned around and saw the pilot leaning against the hull. It's very impressive. What is it?
Low-altitude assault transport. We use them to transport our men into war zones under heavy fire. See the exterior? Ain't no clanker gonna blast through that easily.
Clanker?
Battle droids. The Separatists have armies of them. But what they have in numbers, they lack in brains.
Well, from what I was told, you clones far exceeded expectations. I'll admit I'm skeptical of the idea of a clone army, but if you guys are willing to risk your lives for the Republic and its citizens, I'll go along with it. I'm Caseus.
Kenji. Good to meet you, Caseus. I need to report back to my division. Maybe we'll see each other again.
Sure. Take care. Kenji and his squad boarded the LAAT and took off towards the Senate building. Caseus walked back to the medical bay and provided any aid he could. Soon, everyone was stable and Caseus was dismissed. As he washed his hands, he received a call on his comlink. Caseus, head to the briefing room. I'll be there shortly. On my way, Master. Caseus quickly finished what he was doing and made his way to the briefing room, where Master Takai was waiting with Master Dralig and Sarah. Caseus and Sarah quickly made eye contact before turning away awkwardly. Have a seat, Padawan. Caseus sat down and looked at his master. The Council has informed me that the Republic has officially declared a state of war against the Separatist Alliance. The clone army will serve as the Republic's first line of defense. The coming months will bring new challenges for the Jedi Order, especially with how many we lost on Geonosis. So what's going to happen? The Jedi will be taking on new responsibilities during the war. We will be leading the clones into battle and providing their forces with aid when necessary. This means that we will all have to put in extra work. Caseus, you and Sarah will be receiving resources that will teach you about the art of war and the necessary tactics, rules, and standards for military operation. I'd also like to see the two of you take a more active role here at the temple. Active role? The Jedi will certainly be spread thin during the war, being deployed to different worlds. So when you two are not off-world, you may be called upon to give lessons to some of our younger recruits when the masters are gone. This is a lot of extra responsibility, Master. It is. But you two have proven yourselves competent enough to take on the tasks set before you. Okay. Anything else we should know? That's all for now. Many details have yet to be finalized. When we know more, we'll tell you. You're dismissed. Caseus and Sarah left the room and walked down the hall. Until this morning, my biggest concern was Dravok. Now this? Dravok is dangerous, but he's not going to try to attack yet. Not when we have a military presence on Coruscant. For the time at least, we're safe. Safe might not be the best way to describe the situation. As Caseus walked by, he saw a young boy with his head in his knees, tucked away in the corner, crying. It was Gaidom. Gaidom? The boy looked up with bloodshot eyes, tears streaming down his face. Sarah knelt down and put a hand on his shoulder. What's wrong? Gaidom only continued to sob as he held out the weapon of his master, Corbius Tall. Caseus knew immediately what happened. His master was one of the many killed on Geonosis. Sarah knew as well as she tightly held the young boy and comforted him as Caseus sat down beside him and put a hand on his shoulder. I'm sorry, Gaidom. I really am. He told me he would be back. Now he's gone. Sarah looked at Caseus, trying to think of something to say that would comfort the young Padawan. Your master was very brave. He gave his life to save others. That's one of the most noble things anyone can do. And I know your master was very proud of you. Now he's one with the Force. I know it's difficult now, but you need to be strong. Things are going to be difficult moving forward, but you need to be strong for your master, just like he was strong. Gaidom wiped his eyes on his sleeve and nodded. My master once told me that in defeat there is silver lining. As bad as things seem right now, I promise you, you can overcome. And you're not alone. You've got friends. Sarah smiled and ruffled the boy's sandy blonde hair. He smiled slightly. Friends? Of course. If you need anything, we're here for you. Gaidom nodded and took a deep breath. Okay. For Master Tal. Caseus and Sarah sat with Gaidom and talked for a few more minutes before the Padawan left to be by himself for a while. As the evening drew closer, Caseus sat with Sarah on top of the temple, speaking to Corbin via hologram.
We always knew it was a possibility. I guess I just didn't expect it to happen as quickly as it did.
Well, it's happened. The Republic is at war. The good news is we're prepared. At least as prepared as we can be at this point.
What did you guys find out about Dravok?
Not much. Only that he wants us dead.
Well, that's reassuring. Still, he was right about one thing. The Republic is losing itself. And this war isn't going to make things any better.
Dravok may not be entirely wrong about that. But his methods about dealing with it are wrong. You know that.
I know, but still, it makes you think. Dravok was one of us until he was pushed to his breaking point. It could happen to us.
It won't happen to us, Corbin. Not as long as we stick together.
Yeah, you're right. I gotta get going. Master Terran is calling. I'll be home before you guys know it.
Be safe, Corbin. May the Force be with you.
You too.
The sun was now casting a fiery orange glow over the city as Caseus and Sarah sat on the ledge. Caseus, about earlier. What should we do? Caseus looked off into space. He knew if he tried to repress these feelings, they'd eat away at him. My mind is telling me that we should ignore it. That we should maintain our oath to the Jedi Order. Yeah. But my heart is telling me something else. Caseus put his hand on Sarah's and stood up. We can't let this get out of hand. And we can't let anyone know. Caseus, I don't want to put us in danger of getting expelled from the Order. I do care about you. But I don't know. Are you sure you're willing to take this risk? Sarah, I don't know how long this war will last. I'm not sure how many more lives will be lost. But what I do know is that I care about you. More than the code says I should. But I also know we wouldn't be the first Jedi to go down this path. We couldn't be. The Jedi have been around for thousands of years. During that time, there had to have been Jedi in our position. The code requires that I love and care for others. I'd say that includes you too. And if the code says it's wrong, then maybe I don't want to be right. Caseus. Okay. But we play it cool. We don't let anyone know. Not Corbin or Master Takai. No one. And we need to be sure to keep our allegiance to the Jedi above any feelings we have. I can do that. Cassius put his hand on Sarah's cheek and looked into her eyes. Inside, he was grappling with what felt like every possible emotion he could feel. He didn't know if this was the right thing to do. In fact, he was sure it wasn't. But his mind was made up. Time would tell how this would affect them. This is strange. Yeah, but I kinda like it. Cassius smiled and stroked her hair. Me too. Cassius and Sarah turned back towards the city, looking over towards the Senate building. They saw enormous starships heading into space. Starships carrying thousands of clones. Cassius looked intently at them as they exited the atmosphere. The following months would bring about drastic change for the Republic. The Clone Wars had begun.